This is Vera. Hi. Welcome to episode 12 of the PL Pod. Today I'm happy to be joined by Sudbury writer Chris Nash, a woman who looks great in hats because that's a good thing and she wears many. And when I invited Chris to the PL Pod, I asked her if she wanted to see a script of the questions or should we wing it as women do. And she picked wing it, so we were winging it without recording. It would be unfair, though, not to give listeners a bit of her background. And whether it was under her pen name, Joanne Peters, from editing the university newspaper to News of the World to Northern Life and on to short fiction and women's fiction, heading on to a 1976 bestseller titled The Learning Environment, to writing psych reports and court reports, and then novels, Temperance Lloyd in 2012, and then a stint in publishing poetry, then her second novel in 2018 titled Priest Hole. She's a woman with many, many fingers and many pies. To summarize quickly, poetry, short fiction, novels, and now a bio written in 300-word segments. You will also know her as the muse of local poet and Sudbury's first poet laureate, Roger Nash. Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Thank you for coming in today. Well, coming in. We're in Zoom. Come on, let's not kid each other. Nobody's meeting. Obviously, you have an interesting past history, and I can see why you would want to embark on a biography. And I know that you and Roger like to travel a lot. So is the travel going to figure into your bio?
Yes, but of course, I was talking to my travel agent the other day, and we're hoping to go away in June. You never know. But I said to her, well, you know what we like? We like ancient history and food. If we get those two, and we're very independent, we don't do anything with very large groups of people.
Good. Well, safety first, right? And that is great. It will be nice to be able to travel again when the time comes. And I know you've had your vaccine.
Oh yes, yes.
Yes.
I won the lottery.
Sweet.
First thing I've won since I haven't won anything since 1986.
Well, it'd be great if it came with money.
Yeah. Well, life is a good prize.
It is a good prize, and I agree with you. I can't wait to get my shot. Did you find it hard to write 300-word segments after your, novel writing experience? Because I know lots of people do find it hard to cut back.
Well, I found it relatively easy, partly because, as you know, I was a columnist with Northern Life for many years. And there you wrote in 500-word segments. And I got to the point where I said, well, if I can't write it in 500 words, I can't write it. And so that became a way of doing things. But also, of course, I do flash fiction, which is under 600 words. And I figured that a lot of autobiographies, people look for themselves in the index and then they ignore the rest. So I thought, well, if I did short sections, people would be able to dip in and out and they wouldn't have to get bored. So, they could dip into the section about the places we've lived and the gardens we've done. Or they could just look at the childhood thing if they're interested in the World War. And so, it would make it much easier on the reader.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's nice to be able to pick up a book and, take a little in and then go away and think about it. And, a lot of people read and then compare their own lives to what happens in the books. And I think biographies are interesting in that way because, like it or not, we all have a common experience. We're all humans, we are born, we grow, we become educated, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we move on. And what makes you write, Chris?
Well, right now it's just something. I mean, I don't think either Roger or I or a lot of people our age do not find the pandemic terribly challenging. People keep asking us if we're lonely. Why would we be lonely? I mean, apart from, of course, we've got each other. But even if we hadn't, there's not a lot of time left to get lonely. You have a lot of things to do. I do the grocery shopping because men are more likely to get COVID than women. And, apart from, luckily, we got to the point where I could have a haircut. And apart from that, I'm just fine with being shut in. Of course, we were shut in for rather longer because we had hip replacements. I had mine at the end of 2019, and Roger had his at the beginning. So neither of us was very mobile before March. And then we got shut down.
I agree with you. And speaking for myself as someone who is, who has mobility issues, I also spend a lot of time at home. And I think that, and I'm of that age as well. And so I think that we have just dealt with it. Whereas a lot of people, but I do know that a lot of people are having a hard time. They do find it isolating, but I mean, this is my husband and I say, this is our life. We're just living our life.
I think too that I seriously believe that having cell phones and that is a definite disadvantage, because it means that you are reliant on a whole lot of people who aren't really your friends. They're just somebody out there in space. And it makes much more sense. I can call friends and we have long chats. And most of the people my age just say, what's all the fuss about? I mean, admittedly, we don't have a business right now. But if I had a business, I'd be doing it online. So what's your problem?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. People are very reliant on social media, but it is the way of the world, and I don't see a time when it will go away. Do you?
No, I don't think it'll go away, but I think that it's just possible that people will realize that these are not real friends, especially when you see a lot of the abuse that's going on. It just seems like, why would you open yourself to that? I mean, I'm on Facebook and I do email. And yesterday we had a surprise call from our cousin in Australia.
Oh, that's lovely.
That was a big surprise. It was, we had no idea she was going to call. And we had a long chat. It was after midnight her time. But it was nice to see her,
Well, maybe she'll listen in because apparently I have some dedicated listeners in Australia, and hey, we can use one more.
Well, we have, Roger has a number of cousins down there, and they have kids and they have grandkids. So yeah.
Good. Well, with haiku, there is a broad publishing area within the United States and Canada, but also in the UK and Wales. Well, UK. Okay, there's my lack of education showing. In the UK.
No, Wales is not the UK, not really.
Okay,
we have our own language. The second language is English, and I've forgotten most of my Welsh, but I'm quite happy with that.
Okay, we're not going to start an international incident, are we?
No.
Did I just put my foot in it? Okay, well, that's good. But, over there, I do have followers and I'm so pleased. I don't know how that happened, but I think it's because I do get published there occasionally, but, and it's great. You mentioned your age and, we know I'm not young. So do you think that when you get to our age and you're looking for some way to move beyond yourself, do you think people should take up writing, whether they write a bio or whether they maybe they've always wanted to write and they feel like it's too late?
Well, I think a lot of people for some reason think writing is difficult, and I can understand that. I had an English teacher who told me I could never write a word, and I wouldn't have published The Learning Environment if it wasn't for another English teacher, Peter Evans, who took the book home and took a look at it and came in the next morning and said, it's got to be published. And it is an original idea. So, I mean, it was thanks to him that I actually, wrote the learning environment, which was a good one because it paid for my kids. Well, the interest paid for the kids' education, which
That's
was
good.
good. But when it came to, I mean, I have to have a reason for writing. I had a reason for writing the learning environment. I had a reason for writing about Temperance Lloyd and the witches. And, I have to feel some kind of passion
Mhm.
before I actually start writing, or I have to think of an idea that is kind of original and different. And so right now I'm still working on a novel as well, but I had to put it aside because I was doing a bio. So, yep.
Do you think that a lot of people are mistaken in the idea that you need this inspiration from above, that I know Roger calls you his muse. You are a human woman,
Yeah.
and the muse can come from anywhere. That muse that we think of in literary terms that inspires a writer to write. But what about those people who just think, I'd like to tell my kids about this time that those are the people
Mm-hmm.
that I would like to sit down, write it. And often people will talk about doing it, but they don't do it. So good for you.
Well, I think the reason they don't do it is that they're partly afraid, and so they find all kinds of other things to do instead of
Yeah,
doing that. I've decided that with my bio, what I'll probably do is self-publish, just get about 40 copies or so, and just give them to the family for Christmas. Because why not?
yeah,
Whereas the novel, the novels I've written have all sold really, really well. And so Roger and I do a business thing every year. I've just done the taxes. And most years I have earned more through the novels because poetry doesn't pay.
that is true.
And so, yeah, I mean, Temperance Lloyd made quite a few thousand, which was nice. On the other hand, most of Rogers comes from things like the public lending rights and things like that,
Mm.
because poetry just does not pay that well. I don't, I think I've been paid for some of my poems, but mostly, oh, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, unless you win a contest, you don't get any money. And
No.
as it happens, and I can't really tell you where, but I won third in an international contest. I was paid
Well,
in British pounds.
oh, yeah, that's always useful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and I was thrilled to be anywhere because there were 400 entries and I was third out of, well, I'm sharing third with Jackie Pierce, who is a Canadian writer from BC. And it's kind of a funny story, but I'll keep that for myself. Um, do you foresee a time when you don't write, that you just get tired or?
I used to find, especially when I was administrating a university, I used to find that if there was a day I hadn't written, I didn't feel good, and I still don't feel good if there's a day when I haven't written something. And so every day, but I have so many projects on the go, and I think that's part of the secret that apart from anything else, I'm writing a vegetarian cookbook,
Hmm,
and well, I've got a format, and I find other people's recipes or recipes that are in books, but they're usually way too complicated. So I simplify them.
hmm.
And then I add cayenne pepper.
Oh,
There is
well,
nothing that cayenne pepper doesn't improve.
well, or the other alternative, garlic will fix everything
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Well, I can say that I have used your recipe for cauliflower pie several times and I do love it. So if that's in, I'm in. Um, let's talk about Pebble Ridge Press for a minute. Can you?
Okay. Yeah. Pebble Ridge started because obviously before, when I was doing Temperance Lloyd, I really wanted to get it out on the anniversary of their execution. And I talked to 42 other various presses, and quite a lot of them were quite honest about it. They said, "Oh, but you're 72. You'll never write anything else. So we want authors who will write something again." And so in the end, and then I realized there's a real market here. So Roger and I founded Pebble Ridge Press. And we have an editorial board, which is gender and otherwise balanced. Then we have a mandate, which is to publish the work of people who have already published, but maybe as an academic or maybe as whatever. They've been a curator or a politician or whatever. So they have published, but they haven't published anything about their lives. And so our idea was to get going a press that would publish people over the age of 70. And I realize that's discriminatory, but so are a whole lot of other things in publishing right now. So anyway, so far we've had, we're in discussion with quite a well-known artist. But right now we're a little, our view is that if we do this publication, that we have to do it really well. And it's kind of, we're in discussions about it at the moment, but we may do it.
I think it's great. I think it's a really necessary, solid idea. And, perhaps I will submit at some point.
That would probably be a good idea.
Not being an academic or anything, but I think that opportunity is opportunity. And you know what I say to those 42 publishers? Chris, success is the best revenge.
Yep. That's what I always think. If you can't beat them, if you can't join them, you should beat them.
Exactly. Women, don't mess with us. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time, and it's been great talking to you. You're always interesting, and I'm happy you came today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't ask you if you had anything you wanted to read, and I will have you back and we will read another time.
Okay? Well, one day I will actually, I'll send you the nitpicking story, because it's what one of my kids used to refer to them as Mummy's dirty stories. Oh. it's not exactly, but I'll see if I can send you a copy of it. I think you'd like it.
I think I would too. And when you said nitpicking, I had a flashback to being 5 and having started school, and there was an issue, and oh my goodness. Once again, thank you for coming, and thank you everybody for listening. You know what I always say? Write something. It feels good. Bye for now.